Shango, mojuba ile Shango, oniwalo, eri jaja, orishako, erumole, Shango, mojuba ile, iwaloba kuso. Amabu Shango, yeah, yeah. 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 Abajagba ebi oba kuso. 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 Abajagba ebi oba
into many different categories, but one of the categories which interests those, the world is divided into many different categories, but one of the categories which interests those of us who are concerned with advancing humanity the most is that between the conscious and the unconscious. This division between the conscious and the unconscious must be properly understood. The people instinctively love freedom, and they will instinctively fight for freedom. But you cannot win freedom on instincts. You can only win freedom on reason. Therefore, the unconscious are those who react on instinct. The conscious are those who react on reason. The job of the conscious is to make the unconscious conscious. Let us make a simple example. I think it was in 1992, after one more brutal beatings too many, the African population in Los Angeles, California revolted, rose up in righteous rebellion. This was instinctively revolutionary. Instinctively in the sense that it wasn't planned. Instinctive in the sense that it was this reaction to brutality. And this instinctive revolutionary act was very costly to American capitalism. They even had to bring in the American army, very costly. But since it was on instinct, it had no reason, nothing to direct it, it would spin itself out. Those who participated in it were largely unconscious. We must come to understand that the overwhelming majority of our people are unconscious. But just because they're unconscious, you shouldn't think they don't want freedom. As a matter of fact, sometimes the unconscious is quicker willing to give their lives in struggle than the conscious. These are simple facts. Would you imagine what it'd be like when we are conscious rebellious, when we consciously organize to rebel in Los Angeles with reason? I mean, making supply lines, making sure armaments are there, having hospital aids, having fire brigades, just like they do even in Ireland. Nothing big, just a little planning. Just a little planning. This is what we want to speak to you about this evening. Making the unconscious conscious. Now, we must say from the very beginning, underline the word only, the only route to consciousness is through struggle. Now, for example, we've shown you the unconscious struggle. Those who rose up in righteous rebellion against the state police in Los Angeles, they were consciously involved in struggle. They were involved in struggle, unconscious, but involved in struggle. The conscious must understand precisely what their task is, and we've said this 2 years ago here, we repeat it. Ours is not to teach the people to be conscious, but to make them conscious of their unconscious behavior. Our task is not to teach the conscious to teach the unconscious to be conscious, but to make them conscious of their unconscious behavior. Because unconsciously, instinctively, they seek freedom. What we must do is make them conscious. Look, you want freedom anyway, let's be serious. Let's sit down, let's plan it, let's wage protracted war, and let's tear down the system and walk on to liberation. It's as simple as that. This aspect of the unconscious becoming conscious is linked to mobilization and organization, something we mentioned last year. We must make clear distinctions between mobilizers and organizers. To be an organizer, you must be a mobilizer, but being a mobilizer doesn't make you an organizer. Much confusion is to be found here. Malcolm X was a great mobilizer. He was a great organizer. Martin Luther King was a great mobilizer. He was not a great organizer. These facts can be easily seen from King and Malcolm. When Malcolm went to a place, he left a mosque. When King went to demonstrations, he broke down desegregation and he moved on. As a matter of fact, King was not concerned with organization to the point that even though he was the most popular Baptist preacher in America, without the shadow of a doubt, and probably, beyond the shadow of a doubt, the most loved, he could not become president of the National Baptist Convention. Yeah, so many of them. The National Baptist Convention. As a matter of fact, if my memory serves me correctly now, and I remember it was Muhammad Speaks that carried the article on the front page in 1964, when King tried to become president of the National Baptist Convention. There was so much confusion there that a minister was actually pushed off the stage and died in the struggle. Yeah. And of course, King lost. The man who won was a reactionary man by the name of Jackson. He never did nothing for the people, never cared about the people, just was a pork chop minister who used their money to put gas in his big Cadillac. But he was organized. We say that we must come to know the difference between mobilization and organization because the enemy will use mobilization to demobilize us. Mobilization is very easy, very, very easy. Because since we're people who are instinctively ready to respond against acts of injustice, anytime there's one little act of injustice, we can blow it up and we'll find people who come and make some mass demonstration around it. Miss Sally lost her job. Let's rally. She got her job back. People will come and rally. So-and-so got kicked out of school because the teacher's unjust. The people will come and rally. They will come to rally at issues. And this is what mobilization does. It mobilizes people around issues. Those of us who are revolutionary are not concerned with issues. We're concerned with the system. The difference must be properly understood. The difference must be properly understood. Mobilization usually leads for reform action, not to revolutionary action. If we would look scientifically at the October 16 million and more march, we would see clearly that this was a mobilized event, not an organized event. We must know clearly the difference between mobilization and organization. One of the characteristics of mobilization is that it is temporary. Organization is permanent and eternal. Clear differences must be made because the unconscious can usually be captured easily around one-issue items, around mobilization items, but it's hard to catch them around organization. But these unconscious must be brought to organization. We must transform mobilization to organization. We say the enemy will come and use mobilization to demobilize us. Many brothers and sisters who've been to the Million and More March will say to you, I was there. Well, what are you doing today, my sister? I was there. There weren't too many sisters out there, but you know, with a million brothers together, you know where I had to be. I was there. Yes. And then, of course, you find brothers, yeah, I was there. I helped you. What are you doing today, brother? If we're not careful, we allow mobilization to become events. The struggle is never an event. It's a process, a continual, eternal process. We say it is our job to use mobilization to drive us to organization. You know our theme is organization. We want power. We don't want money. We don't want fame. We don't want fortune. We don't want popularity. We want power. Power. And power comes only from the organized masses. Power comes only from the organized masses.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm doing this video with regards of George Floyd. I see how much people is upset, how much people is hurt from what they have seen, you know, this cold murder of a brother. I just wanted to use this opportunity, and I know that the word opportunity is maybe not the best word to use at this moment, but the opportunity of the death of this brother and the upset that we can see in Black communities across the world, to highlight that we're catching fire everywhere that we are. Yes, we had the issue now with George Floyd. We had it before with many others, and we will have them in the future as well. I have no doubt about it. One of my biggest issues is that at the same time that George Floyd was being assassinated by police, there was a 14-year-old that was assassinated by police in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, in the favelas, from an helicopter with shotguns, just killing 14-year-old Afro-Brazilian, yeah? And I wonder sometimes, why is it that we get more organized, upset, more vocal about the death of African American or maybe a Black British, than we do about everything else that is been happening in the world? So last year in 2019, in Brazil, they killed around 1,800 Black Brazilians, African Brazilians. Don't you think that this is something to highlight? Don't you think that this is something that we need to protest? Don't you think that this is something that we need to do the same level of campaigning that we do for George Floyd? And don't take me wrong, I'm not saying that is not a valid protest, what we need to do. Of course, we need to protest every single life of our brothers and sisters, wherever we are. And just to be clear, a lot of people say, so yes, we don't protest about Africa because Africans are killing Africans. Yes. Let's just for a second analyze. The Africans that are killing Africans are doing it for who? Who is benefiting from killing these Africans? So when we talk about capitalism, when we talk about imperialism, imperialism is a tree and it has different branches. In Africa, it manifests as neocolonialism through dictatorships, autocrats, and what they call puppet leaders, which I don't think that they are puppets because they are conscious. So puppets don't have a conscience, but these puppet leaders consciously decided to oppress their people so that they can benefit, they can fill their pockets. So it's very important that you understand these three imperialism. Yes, in the West, America, UK, Europe in general, Australia, it manifests as racism. In home, back home in Africa, it manifests as neocolonialism. But it's the same branches from the same trees. In Brazil, what we call Latino America, yes? Brazil, Colombia, Bolivia, they are annihilating us. They are killing Africans left, right, and center. But we don't get so geared up about it. I don't know why. So I'm just putting this question out there. We should value the lives of all African people and their descendants, whatever they are. And we should organize and protest at the same level for any killings or any Africans under any condition of oppression. Let it be capitalism in the West, let it be racism in the West, let it be neocolonialism and capitalism in Africa, yes, and the Caribbean and South America. Very important that we put the same weight, the same anger, the same level of organization. And that takes me to another point. I'm one of the organizers in the All African People Revolutionary Party, which was set up by Kwame Nkrumah, and then Kwame Ture expanded into the West. And one thing that Kwame Ture used to say is organize, organize, organize. The hashtag will not take us anywhere. Every African man and woman needs to be in an organization, no doubt. Otherwise, we're just gonna continue to catch fire for centuries and centuries. Peace.
Okay, peace and blessings, Tendai Mwadi, Mwadi Bukuru Kuru Hotep, Rastafari, African power for all African people. Family, just let me know if you can hear my voice clearly. I just want to know that I can be heard. So just let me know. Give me a signal, in the chat if I can be heard clearly as I'm speaking right now. I'm just gonna do my double checking over here on these sides as well. But I want people to let me know if them can hear me, because there is no better quality control than the people. So yes, family, let me know if you can hear my voice very clearly, so that I'm coming through properly before I continue. Want to greet everybody that has joined me so far. And yeah, we just began by playing two videos, and I'm going to explain them in a sec. As soon as I get the signal that I can be heard, I will continue and explain it a little bit more. But for now, let me just big up my brother Tahaka, aka Scattered Minds in the building, Mr. Lee, my brother M.A. Brown, Daya, Kawana Harris, who, based upon the picture, was the sister that joined us last week. We give thanks for your presence here once again, my sister. 6-4 Masi, yeah, big up yourself. My Ziriab is in the building, bro. I was asking about you just the other day. I do hope you are well, bro. Haven't heard from you in a while. PR Congo, I like the second part of that name. That's going to be very applicable to today's presentation. So do stay tuned, brother EX. Big up yourself, bro. And thank you for joining, man. So I thought it was important, to just begin. Big up, brother Mordecai from across the waters. You done know, King. Blessings and welcome. I thought it was important, to begin by just addressing some of the issues of the now in relation to Wagwan with our people in terms of racist murders and police brutality. And the first video that was shared just now was Baba Kwame Ture, an ancestor who was an activist in the civil rights movement and the father, they say, of Black Power, because he was the one in 1966 who popularized the phrase Black Power. And as one of the leading members of the All African People's Revolutionary Party, after he had got a lot of training in the Black Liberation movement in America, and in the Pan-African movement on the continent, particularly in Ghana and in Guinea, and traveling around the world organizing African people. He's delivering this message in Harlem, New York in the 90s, and he's emphasizing the need for us to organize and juxtaposing organization with mobilization. And the fact that we often mobilize around issues, but that mobilization doesn't always translate into organization in relation to the systems of oppression that create the issues in and of themselves. And so I think it's very important to bear those things in mind, because at the moment we are only capable of reacting because we are not organized. Yeah. And so applauding all brothers and sisters who are out on the streets, who are protesting, who are rising up, yeah, in whatever format we're rising up at the moment. And I just want to encourage, based upon the wisdom of our ancestor Baba Kwame Ture, us to develop that mobilization into organization so that it can be more effective in terms of fighting the injustices that we are fighting right about now. Finally, an ideological son of Baba Kwame Ture, Brother Zhang, yeah, who is an organizer in the All African People's Revolutionary Party, the same organization in the UK. Yeah, he is from Equatorial Guinea, and he is raising our awareness of a brother in Brazil who was gunned down by the police. Yeah. Around the same time as George Floyd, yeah, and the brother, young brother goes by the name of João Pedro Matos Pinto, João Pedro Matos Pinto, yeah, and many of us don't know about this brother, and there have been a number of activists who have died and been killed in Brazil, yeah, in the last few years. Okay, and so it's just making us aware of the fact that everywhere that our activists are, or everywhere our people are, they're not always there's not always cameras filming their deaths at the hands of state violence. Yeah, and so we have to bear in mind that we have a global African family out there, and we who are in the West, so to speak, will often have access to resources of dissemination of information that our brothers and sisters in other parts of the world don't. And so we have to keep those brothers and sisters in our minds also. So I want to say the brother's name again. It's João Pedro Matos Pinto. And I'm encouraging ones to go look into that situation and his case and say his name alongside Ahmaud Berry, and George Floyd, and our sister who was also gunned down by the police, whose name has gone out of my head at the moment, and it will come back to me. So when it comes back to me, I will say it. But she apparently was gunned down outside of her house. Let me see if I can find her name, just so this refers right to you. Forgive me, brothers and sisters. Let me just find the sister's name. Breonna. I was thinking it's something beginning with B. Breonna Taylor. Yeah. You know, who was shot last month. Yeah. You know, so we just have to bear these things in mind, kings and queens. Okay. And I hope that ones appreciate why I've begun today's session with that you know, update, and hopefully the wisdom of our activists and our ancestors will be sufficient in terms of guiding our actions today, in terms of protest, demonstration, marches, and so on and so forth. All right, okay, family, we're gonna get into the thing, and today is part 2 of the KIMOYO series. And today we're going to get a bit more of an in-depth explanation as to what KIMOYO means, as well as we're going to be dealing with the subject, who or what is God? Who or what is God? And I know this is going to be a contentious issue for some, yeah? Whilst we are not making any apologies for bringing the African-centered perspective, we are doing so with respect to the fact that there are various different, you know, inclinations among our people. And so I hope ones and ones, wherever your inclination religiously or spiritually, will take education and understanding from what is about to be presented. So once again, family, as you come through, hit up the like button. Yeah, hit up the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you have not already hit the subscribe button. And it seems that I've neglected to put the information in the description, in particular, for those who were, no, it's there. So if you are so moved, yeah, to make a financial contribution to the works that are being presented on Shakara Speaks, feel free to check out the description for the PayPal link, and you can drop a contribution in there. Please do not feel obliged, but all contributions are gratefully received. All right, we're going to go in on the thing right now, you know what I'm saying, and deal with the subject of who or what is God. And you will notice that the word God, as in the title of this particular session, is in quotation marks. Yeah, in quotation marks. And so let me explain why it's in quotation marks before I go any further. Yeah, when dealing with the word God, it's a word that I only really use within the context of communication for communication purposes. Well, Jamaica in the building. Respect to all the family in Jamaica. Tune in on the last presentation, which I believe is the 17th of this month, because we're going to go in on African spiritual retentions in Jamaica. Big up the Orthodox more. Before I go any further, let me just add to a question that Brother Orthodox Moore asked me last week, yeah, and for some reason I forgot to mention the book of Water and the Spirit, yeah, of Water and the Spirit by Malada Masome. Brother Orthodox Moore was asking about information on initiation practices, yeah, manhood and womanhood initiation, and this is another good book, especially because it's dealing with the brothers. He was kidnapped and taken to a Catholic missionary school, and basically, you know, he ran away, found back his people then, and he had to be integrated back into his village. And the process that he went through was basically, he was a few years past initiation age, but they took him through the initiation process. And so he details that in this book right here. And it's an excellent expose of the brother's experience. So check it out. Of Water and the Spirit by Malidoma Some. Yeah, so check that out, Brother Moore. Sorry to add to that. For some reason, I didn't mention it last week, but yeah, wanted to correct that immediately as he came through. Giving thanks, family. Okay, so I was explaining God. So the word God, yeah, in as used in the English language, is tied up with a lot of ideas and what's the word? Concepts, yeah, that don't compute to me when I envisage, yeah, the Most High Creator of the universe, yeah, and for that reason, when I say, for example, God in English, and when I say Mwali in Shona, Shona language is spoken mostly in Southeastern Africa, mostly Zimbabwe, yeah, two different things, yeah, two different ideas pop up in one's mind, yeah. The word God is laden, yeah, with so many Eurocentric concepts that do not fit into my African spiritual conceptualization, yes, of the creative life force, yeah. So I only use the word God in communication for people to understand what I'm saying. But if I'm referring to my own conceptualization, I would not use that term, yeah, because of its Eurocentric implications. And so we're going to be doing, what we're going to be doing today is delving into African-centered concepts of the creator and cosmologies that give expression to that. I will say from the beginning that this part of this series is still a work in progress. There's much more to add. And I am currently studying the Zulu cosmology, the Kikuyu cosmology, the Oromo cosmology, even further, yeah, in order to add to this section of the presentation of the series, but it's a work in progress. So I hope ones and ones will get something from the state it's in at the moment, and we're going to go forward from there. All right, now let's go. I began with this last week, but I think it's necessary to do it again. So let's go. When I can find my mouse. All right, this is Mama Marimba Ani. We're going to begin with Mama Marimba Ani once again, kind of explaining the reason why we do things like this. Yeah, and I hope ones and ones understand as I play this.
African spiritual thought in its own terms. Okay, many of us are practicing other religions because we need something. That's a human need. That's an African need. And we're doing this because no one has ever presented African religion to us in terms of the underlying philosophy that the religion is based on. That is, no coherent statement has been made to us about African religion, and it hasn't been explained in terms of the African worldview. Usually it's explained with reference to somebody else's worldview. So I want to attempt to correct that this evening, and then we can get hopefully into questions.
Shouting out Master Basu, Netta Ankh Aku in the building. For those who may not be aware, Netta Ankh is my Master Basu. You know that I'm a Basu, an initiate of the Egyptian yoga system, the Sima Kemet yoga system. And my teacher is Netta Ankh, who's in the chat right now. So thank you for being here, big bro. And yes, a young Mama Marimba with her afro. And these things, and this speech is called Ancestor Communion. You can currently watch it on YouTube. Do check it out. It's beautiful in terms of explaining the purpose of ancestor communion in African spirituality, which we will be going into next week. Okay, so do stay tuned for that. All right, but what she's explaining here is laying the foundation for this entire series. I am not an initiate, yeah, outside of being initiated into the system of Sima Kemet yoga. Yeah, I am not an initiate, yeah, in terms of being a priest, yeah, of an African spiritual system. I am a devotee. I am a student of African philosophy in that respect. And so what we are doing today is bringing the African philosophical perspective with regards to spirituality. Because, as Mama Marimba has said, oftentimes that perspective is brought through the eyes of non-Africans, and often non-Africans who have been and continue to be oppressive to African people and therefore degrading to African culture. And so it is right that we put our own spirituality, our own philosophy, our own culture in proper context based upon the ideas and the concepts within that philosophy, that spirituality, that culture, and judge it on its own merits, yeah, without need for finding validation in any other school of thought, okay, which is what is done very often within our world African community, okay. We find validation for African spirituality within the Abrahamic religions. So we find validation for African spiritual concepts within wherever we find in Eastern philosophy, in China and in India. And we're not taking anything away from those people and those groups and those cultures that develop those spiritual and religious concepts and systems. We are just saying that in as much as nobody goes to Africa, to the Medjugorje to validate the Bible or the Quran, nobody goes to the Oduifa in order to validate the Bhagavad Gita, yeah, or the Guru Granth Sahib, yeah. Nobody does that. They're judged on their own merits, yeah. And so we want to be able to look at African spirituality on our own merit and look at it from the philosophical foundation, not just the aesthetics or the superficial outward expressions, but the deep philosophical foundations at the heart of our spiritual systems. And I hope ones and ones are understanding where we're coming from. And so we're going to continue with Mama Marimba Ani with this beautiful quote taken from the book Self-Healing Power and Therapy by Baba Kimwadende Kiabunseki Fukiao, who we are going to be relying heavy upon today, okay? But in that book, Self-Healing Power and Therapy, Mama Marimba Ani actually wrote the introduction, yeah? And in that introduction, she says, those of us who have been committed to Pan-African liberation and self-determination have been studying, researching, learning, and teaching about the genius of ancient African civilization for many, many years. She continues, this has been the ritual process. And I love that, you know, that the investigation, the learning, the research is itself a ritual. Beautiful. This has been the ritual process of constructing a paradigm for African-centered reconceptualization. Our approach is continually challenged by those who claim that there is no African worldview, that each African society is fundamentally different, and that the concrete substance of African culture has been destroyed and is now lost within such abstractions as worldview. According to this ideological position, the African connection is non-existent, nothing but a figment of the African nationalist imagination. In other words, it's you crazy conscious Pan-African people that are seeing what ain't there, seeing all these connections between African cultures and spirituality, but you lot are just making up the thing. Yeah, you lot ain't see, you know, you're not really looking at the truth of African culture, because they're so diverse and distant and different from each other and irreconcilable, as I was exploding that myth last week. Yeah, and so this is considered now wishful thinking, a figment of the imagination of these Black power individuals, specifically from the diaspora, because no continental African thinks like that. Okay, this is what has been said. All right, this is what's been said to us. Okay, however, but Fukiao's work is the vindication of our ability to image a nation, a world nation of African people based upon the genius of African cultural science. What Fukiao presents here is a resounding affirmation of the Pan-Africanist vision, the Sankofa mission, going back to fetch that which is valuable in our past. Sankofa is a Akan terminology, which means simply that, going back to fetch that which is valuable in our past. And the worldview, paradigmatic approach to African reconstruction. His work silences, I should say, excuse the typo, silences the doubters and the assimilationists, as Fukiao imparts the knowledge passed onto him in the Tambu Rusulu Mia Zingu, yeah, the life principles transferring institutes, yeah, and I'll go on to explain that in a second. He puts flesh onto the bones of African nationalist ideology. Fukiao's work will allow us to concretize the abstraction of African-centered theory. Okay, so what we're doing here is concretizing a philosophy that we've had from ancient times and reconstructing it for our benefit, our usage today. When we go among the Afrikanya mission, which is a group of African spiritualists in Ghana who are seeking to revive and restore dignity to African spiritual traditions, they have a phrase, a call and answer, where the Komfo, which is the priest, will say Sankofa, and we will respond Bibi Woho. Yeah, Sankofa, Bibi Woho. Sankofa again means to go back and fetch. Yeah, to return to seek and return to find what you have lost. Bibi Woho means there is something of value there. Yeah, we're bringing back things of value to our people, to our lives, to our philosophy, to our culture in this day and age. And so this is why we're doing this work. Yeah, and so I've done that to give definition to the mission, yeah, for why we are here and why we do this work at this moment in time. Let me just give a brief explanation of Baba Kimwadende Kiabunseki Fukuyao. He is the founder of the, and forgive me because my Kikonga is not up to par, but there's going to be a lot of Kikonga in today's presentation. I'm going to try to my best to pronounce it all, yeah, because that's a part of the reconstruction process. And if I stumble and if I fall, allow them something there, it's all good because we're all learning. And if anybody out there is fluent in Kikongo and wants to come on later on and correct my pronunciation, I am most willing to receive your teaching. All right. So he's the founder of the Yulalungu. Yeah, sorry, Yulalungunu. Yeah, Luakumba NC Institute. Yeah. And basically what that is about is the preservation and the modern day application of the ancient wisdom of Bakongo, yeah, in that regard, okay. And as a result of that, he has written many works. He's also a PhD, by the way. He's Dr. Kimba Dende Kiyabonseki Fukuyao. He has degrees in cultural anthropology, community development, and another degree at master's level, which I'm forgetting. Okay, but more importantly, yeah, he is the author of a number of books. The first book that I read from him was Kindezi, The Congo Art of Babysitting. I read that a number of years ago as a member of the Al-Qaeda Revivalist movement, and we were, you know, going through in our study, and we were studying this book. Yeah, the next book I read from him was Mbongi, an African traditional political institution. Then there's African Cosmologies of the Bantu Congo, Self-Healing, Power and Therapy, and he's written a number of other books and papers as well. Yeah, so just check out these books because the elder, well now ancestor, is deep and he goes in. And how he writes is beautiful. He throws in a lot of Kikongo everywhere to give expression to what he is saying. Yeah, but you can see a theme here. He's looking at every book that he's writing is meant to relate to practical application in today's world. How can we use these concepts, these ideas, these precepts, this philosophy, yes, coming out of our indigenous culture, yes, in today's world to solve problems today, to look at how we can develop political institutions, Mbongi, to look at how we're going to raise our children and build institutions around the raising of our children, Kindezi, yeah, looking at African cosmologies, how we see the universe, how can we heal ourselves, what were our healing modalities, and how can we use them today? Self-healing power, okay? Now, what qualifies him to write these texts, yeah, is that he is an Nganga, yeah, which is he's initiated into a number of secret societies of the Congo wisdom traditions, yeah. The first one is the Lemba, which is said to be the highest society, and they're dealing with healing and diplomacy in terms of keeping the nation, the community together and functioning well. Yeah, then there's the Kimba, which is a herbalist society, and then you have the Kimpasi, which is a youth training society that deals with creating moral warriors, yeah, that are capable of protecting and preserving the community. And so within his tradition, Baba Kimbwa Dende Kiyabonseki Fukuyao is initiated into these societies within his own tradition. And so he's given explanations of the wisdom teachings, yeah, in his text, okay? And so I do encourage everybody to read anything by Elder Ancestor Baba Kimbwa Dende Kiyabonseki Fukuyao, all right? And check it out, kings and queens. Big up to everybody watching right about now. Welcome as you come through. So we're going to delve into now the first explanation of the creator, and we're going to be looking at it from within the Kikongo, the Bakongo cosmology. Okay, so not only are we going to be getting an explanation of the creator, who in Kikongo would be referred to as Nzambi. Yeah, we're going to be looking at how that concept of the creator is formulated within the cosmology. Reading from a paper, yeah, by Baba Kimbwa Dende Kiyabonseki Fukuyao called Digging Up the Past, an Approach to Fundamental Education and Development, yeah. Once again, Digging Up the Past, an Approach to Fundamental Education and development. He says, the Bantu concept of God is a principle of Kalunga. That's a beautiful, beautiful Kikonga word, which means welded opposite forces, positive and negative in one. Yes? Okay, bear that in mind. Kalunga, welded opposite forces, positive and negative in one. This is the Bantu concept or principle of God. Yeah? In one. Yeah? And he gives, when you read Baba Kimba then the Kiabon Seki Fukiao, he gives expression to a lot of what he's explaining using proverbs and sayings within the Kikongo wisdom tradition. So, Banza dia Kibantu Mu'nzambe I Unklu wa Kalunga, I don't know how you pronounce this ISV, wa Ngolo Zabundana, yeah, Kala Yele Luvemba, Vakimosi. All right, give me a round of applause for my Kikongo kings and queens. All right, the Munho, which is the human being, yeah, Munho is human being himself, is seen in terms of these paired forces, yeah. Nkwa Luzungu, he is a being of paired organic forces. Some are said Lumoso or Lukento, left or female, and others Lunene or Lubakala, right or male, because all beings are resultant of the Kalunga, the complete forces made up of welded opposite forces of Kala and Luvemba, positive and negative in one. In our final presentation, we're going to be going into concepts of the self. So stay tuned as we're going to go more into the whole idea of Muntu, Untu, Bantu, and all these concepts that mean human being. All right. But for now, let's move on. All right. As a matter of fact, the whole African religion, as one can see in their aspect among the Bantu people, have two key words besides Nzambi or Kalunga. These words are Ungolo and Moyo. Ungolo meaning force, energy, or dynamism, and Moyo meaning life. Yes? It is here that the African religions, in their aspect among the Bantu, find the roots of their dynamism in their wholeness. Yeah. So bearing this in mind, the key words that we're looking at here, yes, we've got Kalunga, which is welded opposite forces together, they're inseparable. Yeah. Then you have energy and dynamism, Ungolo. Then you have Moyo, yes, Moyo, which is life, yeah, itself. All right. And in fact, it means more than that. We're going to get into that in a second. Okay. Let me see. Instead of searching the sense and meaning of the Bantu aspects of African religions on this clear basis, the Eurocentrist scholar found it not only important but imperative for their imperialistic intentions to label the Bantu religion on the grounds of a very negative basis. Yet this basis does not have tracks in Bantu languages. They labeled these people animists and their religion animism. The word itself related to anima stroke animal says clearly what these scholars had in mind about African religion in general and about its aspects among the Bantu people in particular. Yeah. So now it's almost impossible, yeah, for us to deal with African spirituality without having to go through and deconstruct all of the Eurocentric, I shouldn't even say Eurocentric, I should say non-African brainwashing that we've been indoctrinated into, yeah. And so there's two things here that I wanna highlight, yeah. The first is that we are challenging uses of the terms like animism, uses of terms like idolatry, yeah, heathen, pagan, and all of the like, as it's imposed on African spirituality by non-Africans and non-African cultures. Yeah, we're rejecting those terminologies. Yeah, not because we are challenging necessarily. If people want to see us like that from their own perspective, fine. What we are saying is that as African people, we have to challenge and reject those characterizations within and among ourselves. And the second thing I want to highlight is that when Baba Fukuyao uses the term Bantu, he is not using it in the sense of the European anthropologist. And by that, what I mean is that the European anthropologist uses the term Bantu in order to forward what brother Robin Walker calls the true Negro hypothesis, yeah, whereby the only true Negroes, yes, are Western Central Africans, okay, and these people are distinct from the rest of the Africans who are referred to as Cushitic, yeah, and Afro-Asiatic, and all kinds of other different foolishness, okay. Bantu is a term that simply means human being, okay, and the cultures that are referred to as Bantu and Cushitic and Afro-Asiatic actually have a whole heap more what's the word? All right, sorry, my son's a little bit distressed. He's fine now. He's fine now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They have a lot more. They have a lot of shared origins and mutual development. Yeah, among them. Yeah, that has been obscured by these Eurocentric anthropologists with terms like Bantu and Cushitic and Afro-Asiatic. None of which, in terms of how they use it, are indigenous African concepts. Okay. All right. So let's move on for the sake of time. The Bantu religion is not animism or animalism. Neither are the Bantu animists or animalists. The Bantu people are vitalists. This is accepting themselves as well as everything in the universe as a part of Nkingu Amoyo, the principle of life in its wholeness. Yes, so we are Nkingu Amoyo, the principle of life in its wholeness. Their religion deals principally with force and vitality, a religion that does not believe in any physical being, but in Ungolo Yemoyo Mudingo Dingo, as in force and life through Dingo Dingo. Dingo Dingo meaning the natural way of life and change. Dingo Dingo is life through change, life through process, life through evolution. And it gives expression to the idea that creation is not an event. Yeah, it's a continual process. Creation is always happening and always taking place. Okay, so the creator is not just the creator is the creating. Ashe. This religion can be called dynamo vitalism. Kimoyo. The religion itself is not a question of belief. It is a question of tadingo dingo ye kalamu dingo dingo, meaning participating in dingo dingo and being a part of dingo dingo. Once again, dingo dingo meaning life through processes of change, yes, and evolution. The Muntu sees his religion like dancing. Dancing is not a question of belief. It is a question of participating and being a part of the dance. I'm going to repeat myself. When I was on content over everything, delivering this part of the presentation, I made reference to the fact that I was listening to Sarnetta, and there was a debate between Chief X and Brother Jabari Osazi. By the way, I'm understanding that Brother Jabari's father recently passed away, so we send energies of ascendance to our recent ancestor and strength to Brother Jabari Osaze. Not that I know the brother, I just know of the brother, and so it's right to send him that strength and that love, and we look forward to the energies coming from Baba, from the ancestral realm. So as I was saying, the debate was between Chief X and Brother Jabari Osaze of the Temple of Ma'at, and a brother called in. They were debating the relevance of spirituality to our people today, and a brother called in and said that science is the grooves in the record. Literally, he means like, you know, the incisions that are made in vinyl. Yeah. When he says record, he's talking about vinyl, old school, vinyl. He says science is the grooves that are made in the record. Spirituality is dancing to the music. It's a beautiful, beautiful quote. Yeah. So I hope ones and ones understand what that means. The Muntu sees his religion like dancing. Dancing is not a question of belief. It is a question of participating and being a part of the dance. Well, what are we dancing to? Dancing is about rhythm. It's the rhythm of life. We're going to just define Kimoyo, yeah, a sec now. So when I say Kimoyo, yeah, we're getting this from the research of Baba, from the teachings of Baba Kimba Dende Kiabon Seki Fukiyao. It means dynamo vitalism. If you research or Google the term Kimoyo, what you're going to get is a definition that says of the spirits. Yeah. Well, what do we mean when we say spirits? What do we mean when we say that? The reason why you're going to get that definition as well is because there's a film by the name of Black Panther in which there's something called Kimoyo beads. Yeah. That they wear on the arm. And there's all kind of technological applications for the Kimoyo beads. Okay. And so you can see how other people are taking our spiritual concepts, our philosophy, and applying it to popular culture, whilst we're running and neglecting and rejecting and degrading our own spiritual concepts, kings and queens. All right. To define it a bit further, there are also differences in the types of forces. There are those that are ancient. Oh, 1 second. This is the wrong slide. Apologies, kings and queens. Something has happened there. So let me find what was supposed to be on that slide and read it to you. Yeah. Apologies for that mishap. I'm not sure what has taken place. It looked like something if I see it properly. But we're going to read from the book. Yeah, we're just going to read from the book for a second. All right. And come back to that. Okay. It's a good thing to have books, you know, kings and queens, because certain time technology, you know, you don't use it properly. All right. So there's something wrong there. Okay. But we're reading from the book Self-Healing, Power and Therapy, Old Teachings of Africa. Yeah. And Baba Kimba Dende is defining the term Moyo. He says Moyo is the last word in the definition of earth. According to the ancient schools of Africa, means vital power. This vital power, Moyo, came to exist on earth after Futu was completely tied up. The Futu is and its contents were ready to secure life to be born on earth. Let me just define Futu for you for a second. This Futu means, this term varies according to the language and cultural region, but its conceptual meaning is widespread throughout Africa. Futu is perceived as the container of something secret and of great price to its owner. It can be made of a piece of cloth, bark, leaf, or animal skin. One can carry it around one's waist, arms, neck, or keep it inside the house in a sack or a statuette or in a hidden place. Yeah. So basically, in this context here, Kikuyu is basically the container. Yeah. That it holds life. Yeah. In which life manifests, so to speak. Okay. All right. And we go forward. Moyo in this language, Kikongo, is universal matter. Yeah. It is something both inside and outside. Moyo is what is the vitality of life. It is the key word to Kibantu, the Bantu way of life, their philosophy. Kimoyo, vitalism, is their religion, and it is not animism. Moyo is not Luzingu, the material life. It is not Unzingulu, the way this material life is lived or Zingu, its duration. All these three, Luzingu, life, Unzigulu, living, and Zingu, biography, can only be made possible with Moyo, the vital power. One who believes in or accepts this notion of vital power is Nkwa Moyo or Nkwa Kimoyo, a vitalist. A vitalist, Nkwa Kimoyo, is an individual who believes in the art of regenerating power. Yeah, I'm gonna skip a piece and get to the end. As the human healing process, Dingo Dingo, Diakisina, yeah, Diakisina. Moyo is the power that makes things grow and be alive. Moyo as a universal matter is present in everything, even in rocks. The kind of Moyo hidden in rocks, plants, and animals has a great role to play in man's Moyo and is the main source of his medicine. Yeah, which in Kikongo is referred to as in Kisi, okay, medicine, herbs. All right. So Moyo really is as he says, vital essence. Yeah. So Kimoyo is not just, well, when we say Kimoyo, we're really saying of the vital essence. We are in a dance, yeah, with the vital power, the vital force, yeah, of life. We are seeking to harmonize with that rhythm. That's the rhythm. It's the rhythm of life. And so the Muntu sees his religion like dancing. Dancing is not a question of belief. We don't believe in God. We dance with God. It is a question of participating and of being a part of the dance. And we're going to skip this because this is a 40 slide. I did say that it was a situation in progress. Back to the paper now, digging up the past and the African approach to fundamental education and development. This is why every Muntu African dances in exactly the same manner. He talks and exhorts his Ungolo, yeah, his energy and force, and Moyo, life, what's it called? The key words of his religion, force and vitality, into which in Zambi, God is not a physical being of male or female gender, but a Kalunga, the principle of opposite worlded forces in one. In other words, the ultimate understanding of the creator is opposite worlded forces in one. Yes. A principle that one can understand because because inseparable with matter, only in part of the motion through the dingo dingo itself. So one has to one can only understand the creator through dancing with the forces of creation. Yeah, we are, as we are, inseparable from matter. Yeah, so we can only understand the fullness by being in harmony with the fullness. We can only understand the wholeness of life by being by dancing with the wholeness of life. We can only understand the wholeness of the creator by understanding and being in harmony with that which is brought through into being through the creative essence. I hope ones and ones are with me so far. So we've dealt with the Kikongo cosmology in terms of defining Nzambi as Kalunga, yes, and manifesting through dingo dingo, life, force, and processes and changes. Yeah. Now we're going to touch on the Pt2. We have the deity Ra, yes, as in Shaka Ra, and this is taken from the book of Coming Forth by Day, as translated in the book called the Hosea. Yes, the Hosea, Sacred Wisdom of Ancient Kemet, translated by Baba Maulana Karenga. Thus, I just want to give an explanation as to in the text itself, yes, in the Medjugorje itself, how things are given expression. Okay. Thus said Ra, the Lord of all, Lord of the utmost limits, after he had come into being. I am the one who came into being as Keper, he who comes into being and brings into being. When I came into being, being itself came into being. All beings came into being after I came into being. And so what we're giving expression to here is that the ultimate expression of the creator within African consciousness is existence itself. Yeah? Existence itself is the creator. The ultimate composite, unified understanding of creation itself is what we perceive to be the creator. And then we conceptualize it through concepts like Keper, which we're going to explain in a second. Yeah? Or concepts like Ra. Yeah? Concepts like Nzambi. But these concepts don't claim, yeah, to have the 100%, 360 degrees understanding of all that is simplified in the term. The term gives expression to our understanding of wholeness. And therefore we go in and begin to investigate and explore and seek to harmonize with that wholeness as much as we can. But that's more, we go more into that next week on the 10th Kings and Queens. So we're going to go forward and explain Keper, yeah? And this is now delving into the work of Baba Theophile Obenga, yeah? Theophile Obenga, who is a stalwart scholar, yeah? A stalwart scholar in our African world community and well known for his work, yeah? With Baba Sheikh Anta Diop, whose work we referenced last week, you know what I mean? So we give thanks for these works right here. We give thanks for these works right here. And we're going to now be explaining the concept of Keper, yeah? As illuminated upon in the Medjunetta, taken from Theophile Obenga's essay entitled Egypt, Ancient History of African Philosophy. Yeah, Ancient History of African Philosophy. He says, we must then devote special attention to this verb keper, not only because it occurs very frequently in the Egyptian text, but also because the grammatical points discussed above are concentrated in this verb. Before this, he was talking about the concept of when, yeah, which is to be, being, yeah. And there are various different ways in which beingness is expressed in the Medjunetta, which we'll go into on the 17th. Yeah, not next week, but the week after. All right. The verb keper expresses being or existence in all its possibilities. It thus means both becoming and effecting. Yeah. Included also in the meaning of the verb are the ideas of cause and effect. It is in this sense of the verb that the creator says to himself, I exist, and in me possibilities become existence. Yeah? Or within the Medjunetta, keper, ikeper, keperu. The existent exists because of the existence of the creator. I came into being, and being itself came into being when I came into being. The existence, keperu, of the creator manifests keper itself as becoming and effecting. There is no genesis, but co-genesis, in the sense that the existent exists by simple fact of its inner nature, coming into being by itself. Keper F just F. The existent brings out at the same time the entirety of existence. The one and the many are interlaced by the same dynamic power of the existent. One implication of this is that matter and spirit are two aspects of the same reality. Try to deal with matter without spirit, and what you have is incomplete, because matter and spirit do not lie side by side. They are inextricably connected to each other. In other words, yeah, the beingness is inseparable from that which brings it into being. Yes? Okay. These principles were presented as male and female. Oh, sorry. I should introduce, yeah, this particular slide. Give me 2 seconds, King Company. 1 second. Sorry, just have to take care of the door. All right. Now we're drawing from the book Blacks and Religion, Volume 1, by the great and illustrious brother Robin Walker, author of When We Ruled, along with many other texts. And he's now explaining the Pt2 cosmology, the cosmology of the Pt2, yeah, in various different iterations, understanding that we're dealing with a civilization that lasted for over 5,000 years. And so the cosmology itself evolved, okay? Well, this is a composite explanation of the Pt2 cosmology, all right? And I'm hoping that ones and ones are naturally seeing the linkages, yeah, the shared philosophical foundation between this and what was explained by Baba Kimwadende Fukuyao. So for example, Kepel or Kepelu relates to the concept of dingo dingo, yeah, that we referred to before, okay? Brother Robin Walker explains, these principles were presented as male and female pairs, yes? As male and female, they represent potential, just as a man and a woman have a potential to produce, yeah? So the basic essences of forces of creation are presented, are conceptualized in terms of male and female pairs. What are these male and female pairs? The first pair are Noon and Noonet, which mean the primeval waters and represent nothingness, formless matter. I've heard it explained as. The second pair are Hu and Huhet, which represent boundlessness or infinity. The third pair are Kuk and Kuket, which represents darkness. The fourth pair are Amen and Amenet, which represent the hidden. These are all potentials. He continues, when these couples reproduce, Noon and Noonet produce things. Hu and Huhet produce finiteness. Ku and Kuket produce light. And Amen and Amenet produce visibility. The second part of the cosmology is the creation from Noon, primeval waters. Yeah. Beginning with the primeval waters, formless, uncreated, and rich with potential. The deity Pt2, yes, emerges from the waters in the form of a hill and represents stability. Standing on the hill is the deity Atum Ra or Amen Ra, who executes the work of creation. So we can see that the concept of the creator is very complex, yeah, in the ancient Pt2 philosophy. Yeah, this is all the creator, but you've got different elements and aspects of the creator being given expression to in different names and through different concepts. And in the European sense, they call this polytheism. Yeah. And when I develop the presentation more, we're going to go into why I don't get into the game of polytheism versus monotheism. It's not an African debate. Yeah, I've never seen that debate take place in indigenous African cosmology or between African groups. Yeah, theorizing about, you know, the cosmos and the nature of creation doesn't exist. All right. So let's go forward. Right. He is sometimes considered the sun or solar fire. Yeah. Why? We're going to come back to that in a second. Atumra creates two elements. Yeah. Shu, the air, and Tefnut, the water. Okay. So now Atumra becomes now the primary, let's say, portal through which creation comes into creation from the various possibilities of creation. Amen being that primary force, yeah, creative force, and Ra being the manifestation of that force, yeah. Amen or Atum being the hidden, Ra being the seen, yeah. He is sometimes considered the sun or solar fire. Atum Ra creates two elements, Shu, air, and Tefnut, the water. They are also male and female pairs. Yes. Shu and Tefnut reproduce and give birth to two more elements. So I hope that we can see now the idea of Kalunga continuing itself. Yeah. These pairs, these welded opposite pairs, yeah, together that are bringing forth creation. Shu and Tefnut reproduce and give birth to two more elements, Geb, earth, and Nut, sky. Yes. Finally, Geb and Nut, another male and female pair, reproduce and give birth to Asar, or Set, and Nebhet. Those are in brackets because he uses the Greekicized terminologies, and I've basically used the original, what we believe is more closer to the original KIMOYO terminology. Asar and Oset symbolize the positive qualities that were passed on to all human beings. Set and Nebhet symbolize negative qualities that were passed on to all human beings. So all of these forces in creation gave birth to our human archetypes. Asar, Oset, Set, and Nebhet. Yes, because we are a part, yes, of the, how was it put again? Angola KIMOYO, yeah, the life in its whole, no, it's not Angola. I forgot the terminology, Kings of People, but bear with me, yeah. But life in its wholeness, okay? So we are all a part of life in its wholeness, all right? And so with that now explained, I'm going to give an example now in the Medjugorje coming from the Shabaka stone, yeah? And this is a translation again from the Hosea, but it's documented in the Shabaka stone, which is a translation, yeah? Shabaka is 18th dynasty, but they translated this document from the 4th or 5th dynasty. Forgive me, I've forgotten which dynasty it was. Yeah, but they found this document in the temple of Ptah, and it was translated. Okay, and it reads, "It is Ptah, a form of Ra, the most great, who has given existence to all the divine powers and to their essences through his heart, mind, and tongue. Thus it came to pass." And by the way, I should say, so this is now our ancient KIMOYO ancestors, yeah, given expression to an understanding of cosmology, yeah. And so they've written this in the word, in the mouth, or in the voice of Ra or Ptah in creation. It's conceptualization. This is metaphor of reality, yeah. This is a cosmological metaphor that gives an understanding of creation and the force of creation. This is not meant to be literal. It's conceptual, and in its conceptual nature, it gives expression to our understanding of the forces of creation. Bearing in mind that the first forces that came in were the fire, the water, the earth, and the air. Yes? All right, and all these things as we explained before. Okay, I just want to explain that. Thus it came to pass that the heart, mind, and tongue ruled all the other members through teaching that Ptah Ra is within everybody as heart and mind, and within every mouth as tongue of all the divine powers of all humankind, of cattle, of all creeping things, of all living things. Yes, so Ptah is in everything. Ra is in everything. It's Moyo, yeah. what we haven't gone into here is the idea of Ankh. The Ankh is life, and life is the principle through which Ptah or Ra manifest in our things everywhere, all about the place. Yeah, I hope ones and ones are with me. But we're getting now the idea of heart and mind. Yes, heart and mind. The heart in Kemetu cosmology and also in Bantu cosmology. Bearing in mind now that if you look for a Swahili interpretation of the term moyo, it will tell you that moyo means heart. Yes, there's an organization that that is based over here, bigging up my aunties Affiong and auntie oh gosh, auntie Affiong and auntie don't worry, I've had a senior moment right now. Anyway, big up my aunties them, yeah, and we are going through this concept of moyo, yeah. So they have an organization called Moyo Wataifa, yeah, Moyo Wataifa, the heart of the nation. Taifa is nation, yeah. Moyo Wataifa, because in Swahili moyo means heart, but the idea is that heart is intricately related to life, because if the heart stops beating, there is no life, yeah. But the heart is also related to life because the heart is what keeps rhythm in the body, and if we are about the dance or with nature, then we also the heart becomes symbolic of that, because the heart is what maintains the rhythmic stability of the human body. Yeah, if you increase the velocity of your movement, the heart must speed up to stay in rhythm. Yes, you slow down, the heart slows down to stay in rhythm. Yeah, and then mind is consciousness. So the Ptah is with everybody as heart and mind. Yes, life and consciousness, and with every mouth as tongue. Tongue is what gives expression to the life and the consciousness. Yes, it's the key. The word, the power of the word is what gives expression to the life and the consciousness of all the divine powers of all humankind and all these things. And he thinks as heart and mind, and commands as tongue whatever he wishes. Ptah, Ra's company of divine powers, are before him as teeth and lips, and are the teeth and lips which establish the names of all things, and from which came forth Shu, the power of light and air, and Tefnut, the power of moisture, and brought into being the company of divine powers themselves. One time I was remembering my dad, yeah, who I referred to last week, delivering a message, and he said that when Africans conceive of the divine, we conceive of the divine in the context of community. Yeah, and this is different. It's different because even though it is conceived as one, it is conceived as many, and that oneness is given expression within a community. And so because of that, that communal understanding of the divine informs how we organize our communal life systems, value systems. Okay, all right. I hope ones and ones understand where I'm going with that. Okay, right. Let's go forward. The seeing of the eyes, the hearing of the ears, and the breathing of the nose are communicated to the heart and mind, and the heart and mind cause all perceptions to come forth. We perceive through our hearts and our minds, yeah? In this sense, now the heart also relates to the emotions, okay? And what the heart and mind think and wish is declared by the tongue. So were all divine powers created and the company of divine powers completed. In every word of God, indeed, every word of God came into being through that which the heart and mind thought and the tongue commanded. Thus, by means of the word, all faculties and qualities were fashioned and created, which furnish all food and yield all nourishment. And thus, Justice is given to one who does what is loved, and punishment is given to one who does what is hated. Thus also is life given to the peaceful, and death given to one who violates the law. Yeah. So again, this now is giving expression to the idea that in order to sustain and facilitate life, one must dance with nature and harmonize with nature. Harmonize with the laws of nature. Yes? Because all this is about the laws of nature. Shu, Tefnut, Nut, Geb, and all these things. Okay? It's also about the fact that this consciousness of the Supreme Creator is within us. This life of the Supreme Creator is within us as well. So we have the power to create through our heart and through our mind. So therefore we must be mindful of what we pronounce through our mouth, because anything that we pronounce through the mouth will come into existence one way or another. And thus we were made every work and all crafts, the action of the arms and the hands, the motion of the legs, the movement of every member of the body, according to the command which is conceived by the heart and the mind, and brought forth by the tongue, and which creates the usefulness and action of everything. It is said of Pt2 then, he is he who, and this he business, by the way, yeah, we'll have to come back to that. But the term, the word he here is improper in its usage here, because the gender pronoun shouldn't necessarily be used. We'll correct that later on in the presentation. Who made all and created divine powers. He is Pt2, the risen land. The Pt2 is the risen, so the creator is the risen land itself, who produced the divine powers, and from whom everything came forth, food and provisions, divine offerings, and every good thing. Thus it was recognized and understood that he is the mightiest of all divine powers. And after he had created all things and the divine utterances, Pt2 was pleased and, I should say, rested. All right. Woo! Before I go on, the most eminent prophet, Mark Messiah Garvey, said, God is universal intelligence, and man and woman are a unitary particle of that universal intelligence. And that is a small way of expressing everything that has just been expressed here so far. I'm wrapping up in about 10-15 minutes. Then we're going to open up for conversation, discussion, question and answer, interaction, and all of them something there. All right. I hope everyone's good. If you've got any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. I will get to them. Now going to West Africa. So we've gone to Central Africa. We've gone to Northeast Africa. Now we're going to West Africa to deal with the Dogon philosophy. And I'm only going to touch on this, yeah. But bear this in mind, okay? What you see on your left-hand side, yeah. What you see on your left-hand side is a mask, yes. At the top of the mask, what you see at the top there is a symbol that represents Amma. Amma is the most popular name within the Dogon cosmology, referring to the supreme creator. Okay, and bear this in mind, because I'm going to come back to this in the final presentation in the series. One of the things that, one of the dances that is done when those who are wearing this mask, they do a spiraling circulatory dance, yeah, with their arms extended. And what it symbolizes is the essence of Amma being spread to create all the things in creation. Bear that in mind, conceptualize that dance, and just hold it, hold on it, yeah. And I'm going to come back to it in a couple of weeks' time, okay? But it's going to give a definition of the word Amma as found in the book The Pearl Fox by Marcel Griol, yeah, them wire. You get me? This book right here, okay? I also forget his first name, but Detelen, yeah. These are two Europeans from France who went to Mali, where the Dogon people currently reside, and they learned a lot about the Dogon philosophy. They were taught by a lot of the initiates and the elders in Mali about the Dogon spiritual philosophy, and it was documented in this book. And one of the good things about it is that although these people are Europeans, they actually give actual pictures, yeah, of the elders them that they learned from in Mali, yeah, which I think is a good thing. I'm trying to find a page so I can show you the pictures of the elders them, which I cannot find at the moment, unfortunately, kings and queens. But yeah, trust me, there's a whole couple pages in this book, and they give the names of the elders and so on and so forth here. So you know that really they didn't write the book. It was just them translating what was said in the Dogon language into French and then English. All right. So we give thanks for our here we go. Right. So this is that page. Yeah. This is the page that we're talking about. So you can see many of the elders. Now, obviously, one thing that is missing is the fact that because they were male, among the Dogon, the sisters, the women have their own initiatory systems, but they were not allowed to access those initiatory systems. So there is a bit of a male-centered emphasis in this book, but that's only because the people that wrote it were men and were not able to sit down with the women, because only women are initiated into the women's societies, wisdom traditions, okay? And in that respect, all right? So the book says the word Amma means to hold firmly, to embrace strongly, and to keep in the same place. One calls Amma's name all day long. Sorry. Now this next part, what you see in quotes here, is taken from a praise song in Sigiso. Yeah. So the Dogon language is Dogoso, but their spiritual language is Sigiso. Yeah. And that is a specific language for spirituality and ritual because it's designed for the purpose of recitation. Okay. Right. So one calls Amma's name all day long. One calls him when the day begins. He is the Hogon, chief of the scheme, the Hogon of wasters. Amma arranges the scheme of things after he had wasted. Amma, one is space 14-fold. To pronounce the name Amma is to preserve all space. The name Amma is the preservation and safekeeping of all things. Yeah. So when bear in mind, the word itself means to hold firmly, to embrace, to keep things together. Yes. And the concept of that relates to the idea of ma'at. Yeah, we're gonna get to that in a second. Okay. And I'm learning more and more the extent to which it relates to the concept of ma'at. But for today, I'm gonna keep it to what I have been able to comprehend properly. Yeah. So as not to make any mistakes. All right. But when I delve more into the Medjugorje and those lessons, you will get more from I in relation to that to this correlation right here. All right. Right. So bear this definition in mind. Yeah. Basically, Amma, they're everywhere. Amma holds all things together. When you call anything in a creation, you call Amma name. Yeah. Bear that in mind. Amma is it preserves all space. All space. Yeah. All right, so let's move forward. Ma'at, taken from Baba Theophile Benga once again, Egypt, ancient history, and African philosophy. Ma basically means the real, reality. That is that which is genuine and authentic as opposed to artificial or spurious. Ma'at is reality as a whole. That is the totality of all things possessing actuality, existence, or essence. Yeah. So the principle now, sorry, let me just read, yeah, for the sake of time. Ma'at is that which exists objectively. In fact, Ma'at is that which has necessary and not just contingent existence, yeah? So Ma'at is not contingent on anything. All things are contingent upon Ma'at. This is why Ma'at is everywhere and pervades all creation. Yeah? It means that Ma'at is pertinent to all the spheres of reality. Yeah. So existence itself comes into being as a principle of Ma'at. Yeah. The divine or sacred, the cosmic and the physical and the political and the familial, in short, Ma'at is an exhaustive and comprehensive concept. This inclusiveness makes it an orderly and aesthetically coherent whole, which is why Ma'at also means orderliness of the totality of existence. Accordingly, everything in the universe that is real and orderly is the expression of or manifestation of Ma'at. In particular, when in society human beings conduct themselves in the proper way or perform in the correct way, they are manifesting Ma'at. Hence, these other meanings of Ma'at, which we know are truth, justice, righteousness. There's also harmony, balance, reciprocity, and order. Ma'at is the highest conception of physical and moral laws. Yeah. Now, keep in your mind the definition of Amma that was just given, that which holds all things together. Yes. Ma'at is the highest conception of physical and moral law known to ancient Egyptians. Thus it is that the goddess Ma'at was the personification of law, order, rule, truth, righteousness, canon, justice, straightforwardness, integrity, uprightness, conscientiousness, and perfection. Egyptian civilization was built upon this very inclusive concept, with its great fecundity of meaning. However, the talk Ma'at is of no use if it is not practiced. In truth, Ma'at is a way of life and spirituality. Yes, this again relates to the concept of dingo dingo. Yes, being a part of dingo dingo, being a part of Ma'at. Yeah. Now, there's another part which I haven't got in the presentation, whereby he says that Ra itself creates the universe according to Ma'at and abides by the Ma'at. Yeah, Ra creates the universe in accordance with Ma'at. I mean, I hope one's the ones that are understanding that. Okay, so I'm going to give a couple more definitions. We're going to touch on some definitions of the creator, and we're going to wrap up the thing. Yeah, this is Chukwu of the Igbo. Yeah. And we're dealing with the Chukwu concept of Afa, yeah, which is their divination system, which relates to the concept of Ifa, which is the Yoruba divination system. Chukwu is the term for the creator. Chi is spirit. Oku is great, yeah, or all-encompassing spirit. The great spirit is the creator, okay? The supreme spirit, yeah, is the creator, all right? And each individual, when we go into the week after, next we're going to the Chi, which is the personal spirit, yeah. But it is said within the Igbo cosmology that the creator creates through two primary forces: Aku, yeah, which represents rest, inactive, contractive, feminine, and reflective, and Obi, which represents motion, active, expansion, masculine thoughts, etc. Okay. And this you can find in the book After God is Dibia by Dr. John Anenchukwu Ume. Yeah, and so we're dealing with these opposite forces again, welded together. Yeah, these opposite principles welded together, through which Chukwu brings all things into creation. All right, to give expression to the same thing in the Ifa or the Yoruba or the Isese spiritual system, the supreme being or Orun is genderless. It. Now we corrected the use of the masculine pronoun. It constitutes unity. Olodumare, an aspect of Olorun, is the portal that births the universe. Yes. So now you remember I said before, yeah, that Atum Ra comes into being now as the portal through which the universe comes into creation. Okay, you're seeing these shared concepts, yeah, throughout African spiritual thought. Odu, yeah, can be interpreted as womb or portal. Odu as in Oludu, Odumare, yeah. Oludumare can be interpreted as the rainbow serpent who comes from the darkness of the womb, yeah. Or most powerful our most powerful deity is Odu. Sorry, if you didn't understand that previous sentence, stay tuned. I'm going to explain it in the next slide. Yeah, is a feminine aspect of the deity. Yeah, the earth deity Onile or Aye is also feminine. Yeah, the power of the Babalawo resides in Odu. Why is this here? The feminine deity, the Ashe of God, passes to the visible realm through Oludumare. Polarities are created. Yes, again, so we had Aku and or B a while ago, yeah? Electromagnetism and gravity. Electromagnetism or light energy is expansive and thus masculine and carries the atoms, molecules, particles of creation. It is gravity, contractive, thus feminine, that pulls the elements together to create form, like stars, planets, etc. That is why, for example, Eji Ogbe is expansive light, yeah, energy, and Oyeku is contractive dark energy, yeah. The balance of the two creates life. So Eji Ogbe or Ogbe and Oyeku is the equivalent of Aku, yes, and Obi. In other words, Ogbe is Obi and Oyeku is Aku. Yes. And so with that now, we are able to absorb new knowledge and new information into our cosmology. Because I'm not making the claim that our ancient Yoruba ancestors understood the properties of electromagnetism and gravity as we do today, but that their understanding of the cosmos allows us to absorb, because it's based upon explorations and investigations into the cosmos, easily the concepts that we learn from it can be absorbed into our cosmology. Okay, definition time. All means owner of, plus Oru, the invisible realm. Sometimes you get the definition, the heavens. I stay away from that because we have this concept of heavens and it doesn't apply. Yeah, Olurun is the owner of the invisible realm. Oludumare, I've got two definitions that I've come across. All is owner of, plus Odu, which is womb, and Oshumare, which is light. Oshumare is also one of the Orisha. We'll touch on that next week. Yeah, but right now, Oshumare simply means light. Yeah, all right. And then you have all again, owner of Odu equals womb. And then some say that because in Yoruba there's a lot of contractions in many African languages. These words are made up of a lot of contractions from other words, yeah. So that dudu is black, as in those of us who are familiar with black soap, it's actually called dudu, yeah, black, plus Oshumare, which is light. So you're seeing the concepts that are brought together to make up the term Oludumare in that respect. We want to give expression to the fact that African spiritual systems are the only ones that I've come across whereby the creator and the divinities are so ubiquitously seen within feminine principles that the creator, the highest expression of the divine, can be conceived of in terms of the feminine. In fact, it is the view of the scholar Baba Charles Finch that the oldest, the most ancient concept of the supreme creator among African people, among humanity in general, in fact, is Tauret, yeah, which was symbolized by in the form of a pregnant hippopotamus, yeah, right? Feminine principle, okay? And so one of the most beautiful things about African spirituality is the fact of the feminine divine, the conceptualizations of the feminine divine, all right? Got some definitions here in the Akan. Onyame, this is taken from the book Akan Religion, Akan Traditional Religion, The Myths and the Truths by Kofi Bempa. Yeah, a name for God signifying, Onyame is a name for God signifying especially the absolute consciousness or being or wisdom. Nyankopon, a name for God, the great Onyame, and Odamankoma, a name of God, universal, eternal, pervasive, omnipresent, the absolute consciousness of being that lived and became. Yeah. So then if Onyame would be likened to Oluru and Odamankoma would be likened to Oludumare. Yeah. Now, what's not here is the term Aurade. Yeah. Aurade is another term for the creator in the Akan. And I'm still researching that term, which is why it's not here. But I am made to understand that Nyankopon, yeah, it gives expression to the masculine element of the creator, but Aurade is the feminine aspect of the creator. Yeah, bear with me whilst I delve into that a little bit more. But it goes to show, because the terms like Nyankopon, have seemed to dominate, it may suggest, yeah, that as our tradition, or as we became more patriarchal in our consciousness, and as we became more Europeanized, yeah, in our consciousness, it would appear that the feminine terminologies became less in use, yeah, in certain respects. All right, but more on that later. And we're going to finish off here with this phrase. I've been using a lot of the wisdom coming out of the Kebel and Revivalist movement, through which I was taught these concepts. Brother Leader Bandaka taught me, my father taught me. Mwadi, the creator, is the totality of the universe manifested in all that is. The nature of Mwadi is therefore coded and manifested in the universe itself. That is to say, in the laws of nature. Thus, nature is the manifest character of Mwadi. And so with that, kings and queens, since nature is the manifest character of Mwadi, harmonizing with the laws of nature is submission or obedience to the will of Mwadi. Thus we imbibe the attributes of Mwadi and strive to accomplish the divine purpose of being. And with that, next week, we're going to be delving into the forces of nature and how our understanding of the divinities of nature informs our capacity to harmonize and dance, yeah, with the rhythm of nature itself. Thank you for listening, kings and queens, brothers and sisters. I do appreciate it. And now we are going to open up for discussion, question and answer, points of clarification, addition, yeah, come to add to the wisdom, and share what you yourself have studied, or challenge, man. Feel free to challenge, man. Yeah. So I'm sharing the link in the chat right about now. Anyone who wishes to, feel free to come through. And while I'm saying that, for those who have just come, hit the like button as you come through. Subscribe if you have not subscribed to Shakara Speaks. Also, if you would like to make a contribution to the works that IR present via these presentations, feel free to hit up the PayPal in the description and share a contribution. Please do not feel obliged, but those who wish to do so, I'm doing this because I have been asked to, yeah, to share my PayPal, that I should do this, my brothers and sisters who have listened to me before. Shout out to my brother Dalian Adofo. You were very well referenced last week, my brother. Dalian Adofo is one half of the Ancestral Voices team with his wife Verola Spence Adofo, and I referenced this book quite heavily last week. I was going to quote from it this week, but I figured I'd leave it to the Q&A because it was long enough as it is already. But yes, giving thanks, my brother, for your endorsement of the works that IR presents. That means a whole heap and a lot. The link is in the chat, kings and queens. Yeah, the link is in the chat. So feel free to click that link if you want to come through and add to the conversation. Yeah, if you want to come through and add to the conversation, feel free to do so. Because, you know, we're there on the thing. Yeah. And we enjoy the interaction. Yeah. We enjoy the interaction abundantly. Yeah. So feel free to come through. Question: how do we tie these concepts of God with the concepts of divinity from the first week? That's an interesting question, and I thought I was doing that already. Yeah. So maybe if you just explain your question a little bit more so I can understand where you're coming from. But initially, what I will say is that first of all, I'm trying for the concepts that we're talking about here are from various African spiritual systems, but they share a common thread. Yeah. And so I hope that from the first week, what I was trying to demonstrate is the oneness, the conceptual oneness within African spiritual systems. So I hope that the conceptual oneness, unity, the cultural unity is being demonstrated through what has been shared today. The concepts of divinity as it relates to the self will be delved into in the final week in more depth. Yeah. Next week, we're going to be dealing with forces of nature and ancestors. The week after that, we're going to be dealing with the self, yeah, ritual, and nationhood, yeah. And so a lot of the concepts of divinity that we went into last week were coming from was a composite of the book that were found in the book of The Person, Divinity, and Nature by Brother Chukwunyele Kamalu, yeah. And so he was dealing with the different aspects of the self. We're going to delve deeper into that in the final week, drawing on a lot of different research from a lot of different elders and ancestors. All right, let me stop sharing my screen for a second while let's find something. So yeah, family, feel free to come through if you've got a contribution or question to ask. Greetings, brother IC3.
Greetings. Wonderful presentation. Wonderful.
Thank you very much, my brother. What's your contribution?
Yes. Got my brain spinning.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, right. Okay. You said that there was the two elements came together. So you didn't use the word good or evil. What was the terms that you used?
Positive and negative. Yeah.
Right.
You got different forces. So Well, go on. So basically, I have not come across. I've come across African spiritual systems that have positive and negative forces, malevolent and benevolent beings or spirits. I've never come across an eternally wicked or evil kind of. There's no equivalent of the devil I've ever come across. If that makes sense.
That's right. That's why I asked you to refresh. Yeah. So the malevolent and the benevolent come together in one.
Yes. Yeah. And so in a sense, because it is the benevolence that produces life, we err towards the benevolent, if that makes sense. In Kemet, this is when in one concept of Ma'at is that Ma'at is the opposite of Isfet. If Ma'at is order, Isfet is disorder. Isfet is chaos. Isfet is disharmony. Ma'at is harmony.
Yes.
You know, Isfet is lie. Ma'at is truth. Yeah. So there are these opposite forces. Yeah. And also, when I develop on the presentation, this aspect of the presentation more, one of the things I want to go into more is the idea that the creator is not a creator who intervenes in the affairs of man. Yeah.
Yeah.
The creator is the wholeness and governs the forces. It is for us to negotiate the forces. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And so in harmony with nature is how we negotiate the forces. And positive and negative are seen as just a part of life in that context. Yeah.
Yes.
The creator is not all good or evil. The creator is the ultimate manifestation of all of those principles.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So I want to relate back to what you're saying about dance. So rather than having God almost as like a static center, which could be a statue, and the belief in that statue or the belief in that piece of rock, by saying that dance itself was very interesting that you're participating in nature by mimicking nature through dance. Right. So then that seems to balance with what you're saying about the malevolent and the benevolent, in that the whole of the universe is a kind of oscillation,
right?
Is a kind of dance going back and forward, like alternating current. It was as if these people knew about alternating current, and it's a dance between positive, negative, malevolent, right? Yeah. So the question I'm asking now, you see, we could use, well, I would see that there are certain people that would use this understanding and say, well, we can be asexual, anything goes, because there's no good, there's no bad. Do you understand what they're saying? What I'm saying?
I'm not saying that there's no good and there's no bad. That's not what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, but it's very difficult to separate what you're saying. I understand what you're saying to the perversion of the West.
So let's
I'll leave it there.
I get where you're coming from. Now, the whole point is that when we talk about KIMOYO, you remember that KIMOYO relates to life. It relates to the vital power. It relates to the heart, yeah? And so in a sense, to be of life is to perpetuate life, yeah? Because creation is about life coming into being, okay?
Yes, right, good.
Death is seen as a part of the cycle of life. So death in terms of how we conceive death, the only way that there is really death within that concept is that which is not adhering to or harmonizing with life, yeah? Next week we'll go with it in terms of ancestors, because you have ancestors who are considered to be deified or remembered, and then death is considered to be the ancestor. The only death is the ancestor who is not remembered, and the ancestor who is not remembered is because they have not adhered to the laws of nature, the community. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. There are words for this. That name people, ancestors whose name that we don't call. Yeah. You know?
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? You know, in that respect. So yeah. So again, it's about the perpetuation and the harmony with life and nature. And so if life is about the opposite forces working together, the primary opposite forces are the masculine and the feminine. And so these are given expression in various different ways, in much more complex ways than they are given expression in Western understandings of these principles. I wasn't at one point I gave an example of this recently, but there is one example in the book that I referenced earlier, for the sake of Brother Moore, of Water and the Spirit, where he talks about his male mother, yeah, who is his
what? Again? What did you say?
His male mother, yeah.
Male mother.
Yes. So the male mother in the Dagara society is the maternal uncle, yeah. And the maternal uncle has the maternal uncle is seen as an extension of the mother, yeah. So for the male children of the mother, all the children of the mother, so in a sense, there are certain societies here whereby your entire maternal lineage can be considered your mother, you know. Yeah. And your entire paternal lineage can be considered your father, because they have roles in your life that pertain to their relationship to your parents. Yeah. And so the male mother is designed in the Dagara society to bring out that which is feminine in the male, yeah, for the purpose of nurturing the certain masculine sensibilities, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Right. Yes, I understand now. Yes, that's right. Nurture. That's right. Yeah.
Nurturing principle, right? And so I'm only using that to illustrate the fact that the concept of masculine and feminine and how that relates to us as men and women is much more complex, yeah, in traditional African societies, without any of the perversions that you're alluding to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Good.
That emphasizes your point.
Thank you.
Brother. I think Orthodox Moore was next. By the way, family, the link is in the chat. So if you want to come through, ask a question, or a challenge, feel free to come through. Yeah. On your screen, you have the next two presentations that will be delivered. So do check them out and note them in your diaries and all these things. Focus says, thanks. That clarifies. So are we saying that our divine principles allow us to navigate the forces governed by God? Yes. Yeah, I think that's the simple way to answer. All right, Brother Orthodox Moore, greetings, bro, and welcome.
Yeah, bless and big up. I wanted to say I give thanks for that book reference. I can't wait to check that one out now. That's the repertoire and whatnot.
Yes, sir.
Cross reference and whatnot. But also, I wanted to talk about a quick distinction. I think you're gonna have to, like, when you start talking to people like Rob and them, like, you might have to give a distinction on like an African vitalism or whatnot, because I think a lot of people, when they hear you say vitalism, that they understand the Western concept, to where, for instance, they would say that it only applies to things that are moving, like they wouldn't apply it to a rock or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in like the African concept, it's intrinsic to everything.
Yes. Yeah, I did explain that in one of our epic conversations with the atheists.
Yeah, I think it went over his head though. Like, I tried to bring it up the other day. He was like, "Nah, man, nah."
Why would you waste your energy with atheists or Europeans?
I wouldn't. It just so happened that we was on the D block, as you know it is, and there's an open conversation, so I was there. I did make that point, but yeah, I do take your point though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just like the concept of like the external God versus the intrinsic concept. You know what I'm saying? Like it's got to be differentiated and whatnot.
No, yeah, it's very clear when he's saying that, because all things in creation are manifestations of life. We are a particular manifestation of life. You know what I'm saying? Them kind of things. Right. A particular manifestation with other animals and plants and so on and so forth. That's what that is. But yeah, I do take your point. Sorry, can I just explain for the listeners? Vitalism. When Baba Fukuyama says vitalism, there is a school of thought in Western philosophy called vitalism that believes that there is an intrinsic difference between living things and non-living things in creation, and that is basically there is something intrinsic to the living things that makes us living. Yeah, that's not a very good explanation, but that's the basic idea. But this is slightly different from what Baba Fukuyama was explaining when he's talking about this vital force within everything, whether we consider it living or non-living. Yeah, all things. Yeah. And that's what Orthodox more is referring to. But
yeah, and that Western view is discredited quite a bit and looked down upon quite a bit.
Within Western philosophy, they have they claim to have disproven this idea. So yeah, that's why Orthodox was giving me that prod, you know what I mean? But yeah, go ahead, bro. Anything else?
No, I enjoyed the presentation, and I really enjoyed the clarification, because like you clarified it. And he was like, yeah, it's a part of the rock. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna enjoy being able to cite that one and be able to hit the timestamp. Like, now you can go back and check it on my man's video where he's like, no, this is where it's different. This ain't the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people, I was noticing where a lot of people, when you weren't there, they were trying to use that vitalism concept to just discredit your concept. Like, no, he's not saying what the Western cats were saying. He's like, no, he's saying it's part of the rock.
Yeah.
I even used the rock concept directly.
Yes. Yeah, no, I totally, you're correct. Brother Dalian, so I'm actually learning tree at the moment. I'm trying to decipher what you've just written without looking at my notes. I know we're talking about black power and African nationhood, yeah, or freedom, yeah. And I'm trying to get the rest. But I'll get there. Give thanks, bro, for the encouragement. We truly appreciate it. And obviously you're welcome if you want to come through and share a word or just expand upon anything that I've said. The platform is yours to do so. Brother Witness.
Yes,
yes, sir.
Good evening, Trekker. I just wanted to check. You mentioned the laws of nature when you were talking about the afterlife, and hoping that people would not go against the laws of nature. I was just curious. I was curious, where would they find those laws? What are those laws, so they know to stick to them? Okay, so the laws,
so black power. So we can tell you, okay, I got it. Yeah, I was nearly there. Give facts, bro. I'm gonna trust me. One day we're gonna have a conversation exclusively in True, bro. Give me a year, and it will happen. But yeah, so the laws of nature are found in nature itself. And then they may be expressed in proverbs or in text. Yeah, there's not a lot of written text in African spiritual systems. Yeah, it's not an abundant form. Normally, you have wisdom traditions that are encapsulated in proverbs. Yeah, and so there are some. As I'm going through more in terms of the Oduifa, I will be adding more to these presentations in terms of the creation stories. But there is a creation story that deals with well, there's actually about 3 main creation stories in Ifa. One that central, they're all related, but what makes them differ is usually the central figure. So in one, it's Obatala, in another it's Olumela, and in another it's Oduduwa. Yeah, but then there's a relationship between Ogun and bringing down the chicken, and a calabash, to you know what I'm saying, to earth and that kind of thing there. But within it, you will find laws within the parables, within the story, just like when you look at Kemet, as I was explaining in the Mejanetta, because they're defining Shu and Tefnut in terms of air and moisture, and Nut and Geb in terms of sky and earth, and all things coming into existence as a result of the commandments of Ra through heart and mind, and teeth. Yeah, all of this is an expression of then now we were brought into creation as our archetypes Asar and Oset, as a part of coming out of Shu and Tefnut. So we must honor Shu and Tefnut, and Nut and Geb. You know what I'm saying? All of these laws that come from which is governed by, encapsulated in Ma'at. Yeah. And then through with the Bakongo, when Baba Fukiao is explaining it, he's given the sayings. Yeah. So let me just give you an example of the sayings itself. One of the sayings in the Kikongo. One second, sorry. He says, Tadingo Dingo, Yekala Mudingo Dingo, which is participating in Dingo Dingo and being a part of Dingo Dingo. So Tadingo Dingo, Dingo Dingo is life through change and process, evolution, yeah, nature, yeah. And so the participating in Dingo Dingo and being a part of Dingo Dingo is about harmony, yeah. So it's about these proverbs. The only things that we know of that are really, you know, solidified in terms of their, in that kind of way, are like Mejanetta and the Oduifa, as in there are written versions of them. Most others don't necessarily have written versions of their ancient texts in that kind of, in a way that we're used to as you relate to other kind of texts. Then,
is there a book that you read that we could read to understand the proverbs?
There's a few. There are written versions of the Oduifa, but you would have to understand. So like I've got a couple versions of the written versions of the Oduifa. This is one of them, and it's good because it gives a lot of a foundation to Ifa cosmology before it actually goes into the Oduifa. But if you're looking for reams of Oduifa, this is not the text for you. Yeah, it only has a few of them in there. But it's called the Holy Odu, a collection of verses from the 256 Odu Ifa with commentary. And it's by Awa Fategbe Fatumbi Fasola. And the introduction is excellent. Yeah, it's written by a sister called Ianifa Iafunfun Fayele Faseguntunde. Yeah. Also,
sorry, what was the title again of that? I just want to write it.
Holy Odu, a collection of verses from the 256 Odu Ifa with commentary. I've got another one which is translated by Baba Maulana Karenga, which is called the Sacred Odu. Yeah, and then the Hosea. Where's the I put the Hosea? No, that's the the Hosea, which is translations of various aspects of the ancient Mejanetta. Yeah, it's very good, very down to earth. I've heard this described as the first attempt, yeah, to democratize the use of the Mejanetta, the ancient Kemetu text. Yeah. But yeah, this is easily understandable. There's an interesting aspect of it, and that's where you can get that.
Thanks very much. I've taken down the details. They came up in the search, the Holy Odu and the Sacred Odu Ifa. So I'll try and get those ones. Thanks very much.
No problem. I'd also recommend this book, African Cosmologies as well, by Baba Kimwadende. But this book is probably easier to understand. Not that African Cosmologies is harder to understand, but yes, it's very bite-sized. African Cosmology is a bit thicker. But yeah, in relation to understanding where we get the laws from, yeah, and how we decipher laws. I should
Sorry,
also,
what's that book called? That final one, that one you're holding. What was it called?
Self-Healing Power and Therapy, Old Teachings from Africa. Yeah. Now, next week I'm gonna be answering your question in more depth, yeah, in terms of a lot of the Orisha and the narratives associated with the different Orisha will give examples of how we're supposed to harmonize in nature, because of the fact that the Orisha are the principles of nature, are in fact principles of nature. Yeah. So yeah,
Thanks very much for the info.
That question will answer a bit more next week. The information here is invaluable. Give thanks. No problems, my sister Kawana. I do appreciate. Yeah, you know, I do appreciate the love and the appreciation. Give thanks. No problem, Brother Dalian. No problem. No problem. No problem. There's no obligation whatsoever. But just, I'm honored that you're tuning in. PR Congo.
Yes, my brother.
Greetings.
Yeah, greeting, my brother Shakara. I'm glad to be on this show. I've been watching you for a little while from Speaker's Corner, my brother, man.
Okay. Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, my brother. And I watched your last show, the one you did, or these ones as well. That's the one that made me way up and catch up on this one. Good one. It was a very good show, my brother.
Yeah,
and your points on the Congolese thing as well, I like that. It was on point still. I'm not gonna lie, my brother. It was on point. I'm learning myself, so I would like to catch up with you as well still.
I'm learning myself, you know, and I'm just presenting.
Yeah, definitely.
What I have learned, or what I am learning, let's say.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to catch up with you on Speaker's Corner and share some of that stuff with you as well.
I look forward to it, brother. I very much look forward to it. I very much look forward to it.
Yeah, love for that. Respect, my brother. Much love, man.
Give thanks. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, family, the link is in the chat. I'll share it again. If anybody else wants to come through and share a feeling, a question.
I have a thought.
Yes.
Somebody else wants to go before me?
No, go.
I thought somebody's voice. Okay. I don't know where this come from, but just listening to the presentation, you know, as you listen, as one listens, you're gathering information, but there's also another level of information that's coming through that might not appear logical or whatever. It's almost like you're saying certain things, but other things are coming through as well. And as a result of listening to, there's other waves. So as I was listening to the presentation, this thought came to me, but I don't know if it's it just come just now. I don't know if it's foolishness, so I'm just going to throw it out there. I haven't thought about it. It's just what came now.
Yes, sir.
Right. So it seemed that as you were talking about the dance and the oscillation between the malevolent forces and the benevolent forces.
Yes, sir.
It seemed to come to me that beauty, the beauty of a culture is produced by the narrative. So basically it's the stories and the illustrations that produce the beauty of the culture. In other words, the buildings. I mean, it's of no practical use in terms of pure logic. You know, in pure logic, it's just like, or the malevolent would be just like, well, look, you need to eat, and you fight and you kill, and you survive, and you eat and you sleep. It's just very basic stuff. But the whole world of structures and buildings and architecture and sculpture and all this stuff, it may not seem to have any practical use. It's like you could destroy it all. So it's almost like the narrative or stories produce art. They produce culture. they produce religion.
Yes.
It's the stories.
Yeah,
do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Last week you was here when I went into ontology, cosmology, and axiology. Yeah, and it's those concepts. It's the understanding of the self, the understanding of the cosmos, and the primary principles and values, of the culture that are preserved within the narratives and the metaphors and the proverbs and these kinds of things. Yeah, and so they're practical. And I'm going to go more into this on the 17th, where we deal with the concept of the self and nationhood. But the utility is in the social organization, of the people, because that social organization is inherently based upon cosmology, axiology, and ontology. And so, I do take your point, Noah. Yeah, there's a lot in what you said, because I feel like that sometimes, like it can be in South England, one of the things that Baba Kimba then there says is that one of the challenges that he has is to translate African concepts through an alien language.
You're right.
Yes. And so it's an interesting challenge. But so I feel like that a lot when I'm saying stuff or when I'm reading stuff. What I'm relaying, there's so much more in what I'm relaying that I may struggle to express. And maybe that's just my level of understanding at the moment, if that makes sense. But yeah, this is why.
But even the word utility, when you use the word utility,
yes,
it somehow it doesn't quite capture.
I know what you mean.
Other side, utility is like, okay, that's a broom, that's a hammer. It's usefulness, the concept of usefulness. What use is there in ritual? What use is there in building a temple? What's the actual use? We can just eat and sleep.
I take your point. I don't think utility is necessarily a negative thing, but
no.
I think that you can become ultra utilitarian.
Yes.
And fail to appreciate the conceptual.
That's right.
In that kind of sense, and all cultures develop themselves off of abstractions. Their capacity to interrogate abstract ideas.
Yes.
I do take your point very, very well. I'm trying to find out exactly where he says this thing about foreign languages. But yeah, we'll get there at some point anyway. But yeah, anybody else got anything to jump in to add to the conversation? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap up soon.
What I thought was real interesting was when you're touching on the concept of how God is not positive and or negative, but it's basically like all possibilities. You know what I'm saying? In manifestation.
Yeah. Let me explain this like this here. So there's one story among the Akanya, whereby Nyankopong creates the universe with Asasaya, which is the earth, and Asasaya, and they have 7 children, right? And Asasaya is pounding yam or rice or whatever, And it said that while she's pounding the yam, she keeps knocking, Nyankopong, and so Nyankopong ascends, into the heavens, so to speak, in order to give space for Asasaya to feed the children, and you know what I'm saying, and kind of things there. So this is how it's a metaphor. It's hard to give an explanation to you, but there's a lot of stories of the creator absenting himself from our perception, if that makes sense, in terms of his or her totality, ultimate essence, if that makes sense, or personal relatability, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore, the role of the creator is just to maintain creation. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, that's a very interesting point there.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's quite loaded actually, because she's pounding yam. It's like I'm trying to put it how it come across to me, listening to you say that story. What I visualized is that when people say, "Look, we've got to put food on the table, pound the yam," you know what I mean? People got to eat, you know. And then in order to get, he said, what you said, in order to give room for her to pound the yam, he had to ascend into heaven.
I mean, you know.
Yeah, I understand. Yes, yeah, but here's the thing. The twists in the modern context, maybe in the Western context, is like you're talking all about this spirituality. But listen, you know, if I'm the woman, I got to look after the children. I haven't got time in this modern world to be talking about all this spirituality stuff. You know, if I'm stuck for money, I'll just go to the government, and then they'll hand me some money. See, so what use is the man if he's in the realms of the heavenly? I've got to feed the baby.
Oh yeah, but remember that what Nyankopong does is that he's maintaining the forces of nature, so the food don't grow. If that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's quite powerful. Yeah.
He's creating the environment for the food to grow. You know what I'm saying? Them kind of things there. So there's all of that.
Right, yeah.
Plus one of the main one of the 7 children of Nyankopong is Anansi. Yeah. Who is
that's my dude. Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna go into a bit of Anansi I'm deciding whether to do it next week or in the 4th week. The 4th week might be my favorite week, you know? But there's in this book, Nation Building, by Kwame Adeakoto, Theory and Practice in African Education. When he's defining culture, I'm not going to try and find the page, but when he's defining culture, he speaks of ideological assumptions. Yeah, and what happens is that in a lot of cultures, the ideological assumptions are the things that are just not really questioned. You know what I'm saying? Because they're just a part of the people's value system, in that kind of respect. And that's what the things that our people adhere to or hold fast to without thinking. You know what I'm saying? And one of them in this society is democracy is the most superior, supreme political systems and capitalism. Nobody questions, hardly anybody questions whether, you know what I'm saying? You know?
Yeah, that's right.
Another system is possible. It's an ideological assumption. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I find that a lot of religious people as well, like they'll challenge a lot of things about society, but they won't necessarily challenge the economic system.
Right, that's right. Because the economic system, you kick me off into banking again. You know. Yeah, exactly. That economic system is steeped in religion. It's steeped in culture.
Yes,
it's steeped in the spiritual, even though it appears not to be.
Yes.
Because it's steeped in faith and belief and trust.
Yes, sir.
In the bank.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You know, right? I'm gonna share the link one more time. Yeah, I'm gonna share the link one more time. And if nobody comes through in the next 5 minutes, we're gonna wrap up the stream. Thanking you all for joining me once again. You know, I do really appreciate it and love. And yeah, man, this is a developmental process for me. And none of this is a finished article. And I said at the beginning, this is especially this part of the presentation or the series is very much a work in progress. And as I grow and develop and get deeper into my understanding of self and spirituality and more scientific, but that's where I'm at the moment. I have a great foundation in Pan-African organization and African spirituality in terms of understanding and developing a really instinctive appreciation for African spirituality and culture. And now it's about fortifying that with a more scientific understanding and appreciation. And as we said from Mama Wimba Annie at the beginning, more often than not, we do not get to appreciate African spirituality and culture from the philosophical underpinnings. Yeah. More often than not, somebody's gonna bring in voodoo dolls and zombies and these kinds of things. And nobody understands the philosophy within which these ideas come about, if indeed
Yeah.
they are actually ideas that actually are in the systems themselves and not impositions onto the systems themselves. And so that's why we're approaching it from the angle that we are approaching this series. We were looking at it from a very philosophical perspective, yeah. And so ones and ones get that appreciation, as you would do if you were seeking to understand any spiritual philosophy properly. You will look at its philosophical underpinnings. And so I hope ones and ones appreciate that. You know.
Yeah. Real quick, I wanted to add on to the concept of that of the intrinsic God that also steps out of the affairs of man, right? Which is a fantastic. I love that concept, right? But the interesting thing about it is, like, so the story you gave about like the woman pounding the yam and then God ascending into a heaven to make room for or whatnot is like, so it becomes incumbent upon us to maintain the creation at that juncture, not the forces behind it, but like, so whatever we manifest at that juncture with those forces is on us. You know what I'm saying? So like the concept of I am because we are, because like that's the balance maintaining concept of the whole thing.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah.
So for instance, like you're talking about Kemet and whatnot, one of my favorite images from Kemet is where they got the mask of Haru and Set connected to her. Like you have Haru looking forward or whatnot, but so you watch out for Set so he doesn't attack you from behind or whatnot. So you have to be mindful of how you're pounding the yam, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. You're jumping into next week. Brother Moore, you're jumping into next week. Very seamless. But yeah, no, I love that. Yeah. And you're absolutely correct. You know what I'm saying? You're absolutely correct. That's where we're at. And in week 4, I'm really going to be going into the idea of the self. And my, I think one of the primary, getting into this concept of utilitarian value, yeah. One of the primary ways that we can use African spiritual traditions is in relation to this idea of the self and psychology, you know, and psychiatry, like self-healing.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That kind of stuff. I really see, if we are conscious enough and dedicated enough to developing these concepts, that there's a lot of usage here. Yeah. Bearing in mind, you know, that the ideas, Western psychology is still very much reliant upon Western philosophy. Yeah. You know, Freud and the boys. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They developed these concepts of the self and they applied it. You know what I'm saying? And so we have our own concepts of the self that we can also apply. And so
and what's funny is when you really delve into it, like when we're engaging into Western concepts of the self, they're really like just repackaged and or bastardized forms of something that we may have been touching on, or something they may have looked at from their so-called air quotes classical literature. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I haven't delved into this abundantly, but apparently Fred was a great studier of Kemet.
Yeah, and that's why I put the air quotes on the classic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, bro. All right, it looked like nobody else is coming through, so we're gonna wrap it up here. Just to reiterate what I was saying at the beginning of the presentation, though, because I started, for those who weren't here, by playing a video from Baba Kwame Ture and brother Zhang, yeah, both of whom, the ancestor is one of the founding members of the All African People's Revolutionary Party. Robert Zhang is an activist from over here who's a member of the All African People's Revolutionary Party, and we need a lot of guidance in terms of how we're challenging the injustices of the now. And organization is superior to demonstration at every juncture. Organization is superior to protest, yeah. You know, in this regard. And so I do hope that we heed the wisdom of our ancestors and our elder or seasoned activists in terms of developing our demonstrations and our protests into sustainable organization. We will challenge injustice better when we have an organized power base to demand, yeah, and have our demands met, rather than just to plead. Yeah.
Does good organization spring from the quality of the ideology or the quality of the understanding?
Yes.
Wow. So that's quite a serious statement. That means the failure of black people to organize for so long, and even the defeat.
Actually, I'm going to revise my answer to that.
I was going to say, right.
The quality of the ideology is one thing. It rarely, good organization springs from the dedication to the ideology itself. Yeah. So even a bad ideology can have good organization behind it. You know what I'm saying? But
Really?
Yes. A bad.
Give us an example. Give us an example.
Well, I give the example that that Baba Kwame Ture gave. He said that Martin Luther King was a great mobilizer, but was not necessarily a good organizer. As good as he was, Martin Luther King was the most loved preacher, yeah, among our people, yeah. But
I watched that video, yeah.
But he said he could never become the head of his own Baptist organizations, yeah.
Yes, that's right. I remember that. Yes.
When he went up for the leadership, he was defeated by another minister who have no dedication to people whatsoever, but he was organized, yeah. And so his ideology was deficient in terms of serving the people, but you know what I'm saying? You know, he because there was organization behind it, he was able to you know, and then there's a brother by the name of Ankh Aket. He's a part of a crew called the Amun Ra Squad, and he always says, an organized lie defeats a disorganized truth every time.
Ooh wee.
Yeah.
Whoa. Let's think about that. It's got a nice swing to it.
Yeah.
But it's quite a statement. It's quite a statement.
Yeah.
If that is the case, that organized lie will defeat
a disorganized truth.
A disorganized truth.
Every time.
That means we it's about time we get into some organized lies then.
No, it's about
organizing the truth.
Organize around the truth. That's the point. Yeah. So the point is that having the truth is one thing, but truth is only made manifest within the people. You know what I'm saying? That all things that are abstractions, like truth, are manifest according to the adherence of people. And so if we as people are not adhering to these powerful ideologies that we have been handed down through our activists, ancient and recent, then it's not down to the fallibility of the ideological concepts. It's down to us and our dedication to them.
Facts.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. There's two ways you're going to organize.
But dealing with dealing with the presentation that you today, I'm going to say, I'm going to come from the other side now. I'm going to say that, as you were saying earlier, that the malevolent and benevolent forces work together in one.
Yes. Oh no.
So therefore, this truth and lie, organization and disorganization, even going back to what you said earlier on, chaos and order.
Yes. But the point is, why my art is heralded is because we are trying to establish order. We understand chaos, as a force or a part of creation. As a part of creation. And in fact, chaos can have a positive usage in the sense of the fact that if we look at the idea of build and destroy, construction, destruction, if that makes sense, right? And them kind of things. So these forces work together, but life is perpetuated through order, So we err on the side of order. At the same time, it's about that there are antagonistic opposites and then there are complementary opposites, if that makes sense. And so yes, the chaos governs the world at the moment because order has not been made manifest among those who say they want to adhere to it.
Facts.
That's what's happening. Yeah, that's the balance right there. Yeah. So we are over here because on this side we haven't put enough weight. Yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying? So we're in balance right about now. The world is in balance right now.
Really?
Yeah.
I would say that the world is in perfect order, but order is a matter of perspective. It's a matter of perspective. So it's disorderly for us,
Right.
as black people. We get messed up.
Yes.
It's disorderly for us, but those people that have their order, they're
Yes.
sailing about in yachts.
It's order for them. I agree with you. But if we were to look at it in terms of the universal order, then yeah, I'd agree with you, because the word world is an interesting concept. Yeah, because the word world is not necessarily commensurate with the term universe or cosmos. Yeah,
Correct. That's right. That's right.
World is a product of consciousness.
Correct.
So
yes,
the consciousness that is currently governing the world has ordered it according to itself. Yeah?
Yes.
But
Correct.
I would argue that lies outside of universal order, in the sense of the fact that order destroys nature. Has a habit of destroying nature, if that makes sense. And so we can see that it's not in order with the cosmos. Yeah, if you see what I'm saying.
I heard you, but it's still a challenge there, because that they could be saying, the construction or the use of brick, you're changing the planet. You might not be, the Egyptians might not have cut down as many trees.
Yes,
but they cut down trees or whatever.
Yeah, because we recognize that the tree has material value in a certain sense. But then the principle then becomes you plant more trees than you cut down, or as many trees as you cut down.
Yeah, they cut down. For instance, they cut down less trees because they made bricks out of hemp, for instance.
Right, you know what I'm saying?
You could grow the hemp and regrow it, and you could crop hemp 3 times a year or whatnot. And you're actually going to help your soil out. You're not going to make it worse.
Definitely. In fact, I'm learning more about this concept of permaculture. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, that's right. Permaculture. Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
This is an actual natural indigenous way of agriculture. Yeah.
That's right.
The idea is that for those who don't know, permaculture is planting more than one crop, yeah, on the land, because obviously different plants require different levels of different nutrients, yeah. Mm-hmm. So you keep the soil replenished by growing different crops, because all of them use different nutrients, and then replenish the earth with different nutrients.
You can also grow them together or whatnot to make them grow better together as well.
Yeah, is what I'm saying? So it preserves the soil better than growing just one crop on a mass expanse of land, because it absorbs all the resources and doesn't replenish it in the same way. And so our ancestors were developing those kind of concepts from a long time ago, and the Western world is just catching up with that.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, you got the biblical stories of people who monocrop, right? Having to go to people who didn't monocrop, i.e. Egypt and whatnot, to go get fed right quick. Because monocropping just dropped it like, oh, we got one drought, or one crop failed, and that was the one crop we all depended on. We're all hungry now.
Yeah.
That's bad mathematics right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. You know. But yeah, man, this is an interesting conversation still. You know. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. All I was trying to say is this. I'm sending strength, yeah, to the brothers and sisters and everybody that is out on the road, or anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Participating in trying to bring justice to our people anywhere in the world. Finally, I do want to just reiterate what Brother Zhang was saying, that our brother, Jao Polo, I forget the other part of his name, but from Brazil, was also gunned down in Brazil at around the same time, as Brother George Floyd, So we don't want to become Western centric. Our people are all over the world. And there are injustices taking place all over the world. So we want to remember our brothers and sisters in Brazil, especially our activist brothers and sisters who are actually being targeted by the state. Our brothers and sisters in South Africa right about now, Zimbabwe, in Congo, in Cuba, as well as in the United States of America, as well as the UK, who are engaged in activism. And I'm hoping and praying that brothers and sisters begin to pay more attention to Africans outside of the West, and what is taking place in our nations. You know what I mean? I hope that becomes the case more and more. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for tuning in. Next week, we will be dealing with ancestors and the forces of nature. Going to be a beautiful one, ancestors and the forces of nature. Once again, if you appreciate what has been dropped today and what will be dropped next week and the week after, please feel free to utilize the PayPal link in the description. And I'm just trying to remember if there's anything else. Tune in, subscribe to Got Kush TV. I am one of the co-directors of Got Kush TV, the UK's #1 conscious media platform. Big things are going for later on this month and next month. You know what I'm saying? I won't say too much on that, but we've got a couple of events that are planned. 10-9 Wadi, be thankful unto the Most High, Mother, Father, Creator of the universe. Kudzai, Mudzimo, Mokuro, give praises unto our great ancestors. Ankh Uja Seneb, life, prosperity, and health as spoken in the ancient Kemetu language. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahode, African power for an African liberation for all African people. Ashe.